Digimon! Warp Matrix Shinka!
溶け合うマトリックスエボリューション、その時すべてわかるさ、二人出会えたい。心の形、君は紙にかけるかい。1秒ごとに色も変えるものだよ。信じることがどんなことかわかるかい。君のすべてが試されて
Dukemon!
勇気だけじゃ
Dukemon X-Evolution!
一つになったその時、光を放つ体が溶け合うマトリックスエボリューション、全てが満ちた瞬間、今それが今ゼロへと変わる心が溶け合うマトリックスエボリューション、その時全てわかるさ、二人出会えたい。行動でさえも同じリズム刻めば溢れる力感じ取れるはずだろう。戦うために一つになること、
Dukemon X-Antibody!
時間の通が奇跡の扉を開く、その時未来を選ぶ力が目覚めるマトリックスエボリューション、君たちにしかできないさあ、目を開け探し続けた答えがリアライズするエボリューション、心の形合わせて二度と離さないで。どうなるのかがわからない未知の力の怖さも二人で越えてゆくんだ。探す目を開け未来を選ぶ力が目覚めるマトリックスエボリューション、君たちにしかできない、それが最後の光を放つ体が溶け合うマトリックスエボリューション、全てが満ちた瞬間、今それが今ゼロへと変わる心が溶け合うマトリックスエボリューション、その時全てわかるさ、二人出会えたい。なりたい自分、夢に見るのは誰にも頼めないさ。 Try 牙をむいた優しさもあるんだ。守りたいものの前では世界が変わる、きっとこの痛みを乗り越えたら迷ってる暇はないさ、戦わ 色が変わる空も襲えない雪もだから違う自分を探して飛び立てるはずさ言い訳ばかり考えてまた何かのせいにするのか Cry 傷ついたり熱くなるからこそ生きてるんだろう思い切り明日が変わるもっとこの涙と向き合えたら逃げ込む場所はないさ戦わなくちゃ歴史が変わる後悔しないと決めたここから弱い自分を倒して生まれ変われるさきっとこの痛みを乗り越えたら迷ってる暇はないさ戦わなくちゃ景色が変わる空も襲えない雪もだから違う自分を探して飛び立てるはずさ 闇を乗り越えて昨日より強い自分になれチャレンジャーどんな真実も永遠に出会う武器になるさ魂たちの進化のため戦えビスターロービスターロー火花散らしてデッドヒート気は抜けないぜデンジャーと燃える星熱く響き合ってるんだ気分最強スーパースターギリギリ攻めるハンティングラン行くぜ俺の挑戦が始まる狙いを定めるのさ放て今情熱で溶けちゃいそうな溢れる俺のパワーたぎる力止められない無限のエナジー渦巻くよ今世界は俺を待ってるヒートアップ急上昇突き抜けろ全てをかけて挑むバトル一つになれ果てちょっとつまずいたがてへこたれなここから一発だってそれが合言葉なんだかっこつけて転んでも笑い合える仲間がいればできる前だけ向いてさ時間の壁を越えて繋がったこの絆見えないシンパシー全てを変えるパワーたぎる自信を高鳴る胸きらめく線香を引き裂くよこの宇宙のど真ん中で Hold down と虫を振り上げろ暗闇の中希望を求め一つになれバニハまっすぐに届け未来のメッセージ光さす場所を探してるんだ夢を追いかけて自由に飛べるまでたぎる力止められない無限のエナジー渦巻くよ今世界は俺を待ってる
silence falls as the belt ceases its chime. Upon the line, the challengers with shrieks and cries rush forth. The knives fly out like bullets upon their deadly course. Screams of pain and agony rend the silent air. Amidst the dying bodies, blood runs everywhere. The figure stands expressionless, impassive and alone, unmoved by his victory, and the seeds of death is sown. Sworn to avenge, condemned to hell, to knock the blade of the same to know. Sworn to avenge, condemned to hell, to knock the blade of the same to know. Sworn to avenge, condemned to hell, to knock the blade of the same to know. Sworn to avenge, condemned to hell, to knock the blade of the same to
the sound of change and lose your thought and will for reality. Come listen to the sound of change and lose your thought and will for reality. See darkness rising from the wasteland, cover skies with endless night. Come listen to the sound of change and lose your thought and will for reality. Feel the magic of the band, hear the bangs of blood and might.
Now, I welcome you again to my personal judgment about TungmungEX-02 Duke-X. At the beginning, I would like to tell, for all who not know yet or haven't noticed it, that this great figure is neither a custom figure nor an official product of Bandai. The TungmungEX-02 Duke-X figure is a product of a third-party company called TungmungEX, which was totally unknown to me until now, or until I discovered their figures. I have read that TungmungEX actually only produced individual additional parts for official various figures and actually no complete figures. And I think the company was also a very young company. Although that is no longer relevant anymore since Bandai shut down TungmungEX third-party company, but I will return to this topic later. Therefore, this somewhat strange name, and of course this figure should represent Dukemon X-Antibody, but as most of you may know, for legal reasons, third-party companies are not allowed to use the original names of characters for their figures, so these third-party figures have some fantasy names. Even tough, TungmungEX-02 Duke-X figure's name is pretty clear and close to the original name, missing only the mon in the name. TungmungEX first figure release was the normal white version of an Omegamon X named by Tungmung as TungmungEX-01 Omega X. This figure was already released, so circa in December 2017. Unfortunately, I somehow missed this figure because I did not notice it all. Actually, only by a tip from a YouTube member who wrote me about in the comment section of my Omegamon Resin model kit or my Omegamon Resin X model kit figure video, and I would like to thank you again for that. So, many thanks for that advice. But at that time, Omega X was already pretty much expensive on eBay and I was forced to hope for a better deal for him. What popped up again much later then, but this purchase of the figure from a Chinese eBay shop unfortunately failed in the end. For that, I still hate the shop owners from the bottom of my heart because they had assured me again and again that they wanted to send me a new one again, because we had to realize that the first and second try sending the figure failed and had probably gone lost somehow on its way, because like I said, there were several sending tries. And the waiting time depending on that went accordingly very long to clarify the whole thing each time, and the renewed waiting time for one promised third shipping try had attracted a total time of more than a year, and in the end I got nothing. I did not even got paid refund from the shop members despite many requests for refund pay. The activation of eBay and PayPal brought me nothing more to, because they could do nothing about the problem any longer because of the long time which had passed until then. At that time I also believed, however, that there was no third and maybe also no second shipping try of the shop members at all. Although they told me after the first shipping failed that they could pay me refund. But of course, I had asked them if they could send me a new figure. So they agreed, but if I had known what would have happened, I would have preferred the refund. But I wanted to have the figure rather, of course, at this good price and not primarily the refund. Well, and because through that whole long waiting time, the figure got, of course, more rare and so more and more expensive in the other shops, and so about $299 for the item or so was a bit too extreme for me. That's why I first made a video about the second release of TungmungEX. That's about the sad and sobering pre-story. As some of you might also know, there are quite many third-party companies which producing their own figures for the Transformers universe or adding and enhancing additional pieces such as weapons etc. to complete or to upgrade official figures from Hasbro. This was done mainly by TungmungEX as third-party company too. But that one day, and for me until now a totally unknown third-party company would make such awesome and perfect Digimon figures ever was very surprising for me, because that was something completely new and so great for us all, I think. And first of it all, they produced some other characters than Bandai Tamashii and Mega House. I think that this was very positive, because especially these X-Anitbody Digimon characters have a cool and badass looking design. And Tungmung's interpretations of these characters were, and nothing to sneeze at, by their first releases. And in my opinion, the figures of TungmungEX are in no way inferior in the design, implementation and quality aspects to the official Bandai Tamashii figures. And in several aspects, I think the Tungmung figures are even better implemented than the Bandai Tamashii figures, and that really means something. As you can see, the original character design of Dukemon X-Antibody has been perfectly captured and recreated by TungmungEX, and they have implemented their Duke-X as perfectly as I could not have imagined in my wildest dreams, and that there would be such a perfect Digimon figure of the Dukemon X-Antibody character one day ever. Of course, this also applies to 100% to their Omega X, aka Dukemon X-Antibody figure. And that's why I will also call this figure in the further part of the judgment by his correct Digimon name, Dukemon X-Antibody, respectively Dukemon X, because I think that a company do simply deserve this by the way they implemented this figure. That is true too for their Omega X. Dukemon X is simply impressively perfectly implemented in my opinion, and in general the quality can certainly keep up and compete, I think, with the quality of such an official D-Arts or SH Figure Arts Digimon figure of Bandai Tamashii, and is just as good and high as on their Omega X. First, TungmungEX Digimon figures captivating with their huge impressive size of about over 8 inches, which is much larger than any released Bandai Tamashii Figure Arts Digimon figure so far. And they are so about the size of the 8-inch tall Japanese Spirit Evolution sets figures of Digimon Frontier, respectively for us the hybrid Digivolving figures. With Dukemon X, I'm also pretty sure Bandai Tamashii would not have been able to better represent and implement this character in figures form, and on the other hand, in terms of what you get with the figures from the third-party company TungmungEX, we probably would have got much less in contrary from Bandai. But I will go into more detail later on all the great things that are going on here on the figure. By the way, Duke-X was released by TungmungEX in July 2018. As you can see, the parts are packed in 2 separate cardboard boxes of different sizes. As you can see, the cover of Duke-X big box mainly depicting the figure's upper body in dark red, while the rest of the box is mostly white. In the lower area you have, as you can see, the inscription TungmungEX-02 in glossy silver printed. Top right in the corner they advise that the figure is more for collectors of 15 years and up. On the back a similar illustration of the figure in a dark red, more from the side angle, within a nicely fitting X shape, again on a white background, and below again the same shiny silver inscription TungmungEX-02. Then you have a few warnings in English on the left bottom. The lid is white and bears again the shiny silver inscription TungmungEX-02. On the right and left side again the images of parts of the figure similar to the Omega X box, only on Duke-X box in dark red, each on black background, each with the same inscriptions in shiny silver. The big box of Omega X differs only in the color design. The smaller box is, as you can see yourself, completely different in design than the big one, is mainly black with these red stripe patterns. Therefore the small box of Duke-X has a completely different color design than that of Omega X, but I also think that this design is also very nicely done. The design of the cover and the back is identical on each side again, printed a shiny silver inscription, this time partly in Chinese I guess, but this certainly means TungmungEX-02 because of the 02 at the end. In addition then continues on each, not for sale. This should probably point out shops that they should not sell the two boxes separately but always together. On both sides below you have again the same warnings as on the big box. The single parts then, as you can see, are packed in such transparent, specially shaped plastic packagings, which are adapted to each of the single parts, where each part has its own place, and the parts are therefore securely and well protected, just like you know it from the packaging style of the official figures. In the big box the main body, the two shoulder armor parts and the laser lens are packed. The rest of the parts are packed in the smaller box. In addition, the figure's main body is packed with an extra fourth pair of arms and head, which the third-party company probably did so for copyright and legal reasons, as to escape from any licensing rights. Probably these are the reasons why they packed the figures, all parts, in two separate boxes and packagings. Well, unfortunately these efforts still did not help them in the end, but yeah. In addition, you get these two instruction sheets for the assembly, and they show us which kind of batteries and how much of them you need, and how and where to put the bottom cells. They show how to activate the light function of the laser lens and how to get the base with the body connected. Now I come to the previously promised detailed explanations about the greatness of this Dukemon X figure. The figure is, as I mentioned before shortly, just impressive and perfectly implemented, and the quality in general can quite keep up with the quality of such an official Digimon figure arts figure from Bandai Tamashii, and also I think can quite compete and defy such an original figure arts figure too. I do not even know where to start describing the greatness of this figure at all. Each important and typical detail and feature of Dukemon X-Antibody's original character design has been taken into account and got very accurately detailed, molded on the figure, and also the parts seem and are sharp edged and painted with the perfect matching colors and color tones. Dukemon X is, as you have seen, incredibly poseable and has countless joints, so the articulation is best. He also comes with a huge stand base and an adjustable rod, similar to the Tamashii stages, only much larger, and so with Dukemon X every imaginable cool fighting pose is possible. Of course, all of this applies to the Omega X figure as well. All joints are very good and impressive tight, which I would like to highlight more than positively for third-party company figure. Therefore, the stability is incredibly good, despite the huge and heavy weaponry, and honestly a lot better than I would have expected it from a third-party company figure, and therefore it got better balanced than many such of the official Bandai Tamashii figures. Also thanks to very many joints are made of metal or respectively die cast. I have no idea, but someone had compared the basic structure of the Tungmung figures in his video review with such a so-called metal build figure of Bandai Tamashii. And that, let me say, that the basic skeleton of this Tungmung Digimon figures in construction resembles kinda Bandai Tamashii metal build figures. But this only marginally, and for those of you who are familiar with Bandai's metal build style can now better imagine something about the base body structure of the Tungmung Digimon figures. Maybe also that is another reason for Bandai to enforce the shutdown of the third-party company, because they kinda copied through this Bandai's metal build concept. It's after Digimon Susanomon and the very impressive third-party Transformers figure, after all, my third personal experience with a figure from a third-party company, and I honestly first had my reservations about all of the official product images on eBay of the Tungmung figures, which are very similar to Tamashii official product images, but I still could have faked a lot. But I faked not anything, and I was and still be totally positively surprised how well and perfectly Tungmung implemented this Dukemon X figure. In terms of quality aspects, the Digimon Susanomon figure cannot compete. It is much simpler compared to the TungmungEX figures, especially the looseness of the joints leaves a lot to be desired with the Susanomon figure, and Tungmung's figures concept, on the other hand, is perfect and absolutely high quality. If you saw Digimon Susanomon's review video, you will see a clear difference here on the TungmungEX figures and will agree with me about this for sure, I think. As I said in Digimon Susanomon's review video, I'm actually an opponent of explaining each joint, all of the articulation which figures have and what movements are possible with every joint, because I think you can very well guess from my countless images of the figures in different combat poses. But here on Tungmung's figures, especially for the review of my first figure, I will again make an exception and explain the complete joint structure and articulation of the Duke-X. So let's start at the top. The head is on a ball pack and the movements with it are almost only limited through the armor parts around and until those parts getting in the way. The shoulder ball joints are made entirely of die cast, which can do a full 360 on the attachment, so the arms are movable inwards and outwards thanks to an integrated hinge joint. What is particularly impressive is a second hinge joint, which is integrated in the shoulder ball joint, whereupon the shoulder armor parts are attached. which in turn sit themselves on a metal ball, so the shoulder armor parts can be adapted perfectly to the respective fighting pose. And through the mentioned double hinge joint, the shoulder armor can be pushed up and down because they so move independently of the actual shoulder hinge joint on the second hinge joint, so they really are not in the way of any possible pose. This aspect is very impressive and absolutely first class, and such a double shoulder hinge joint system did not have any of the Tamashii Digimon figures until yet. So you can adapt all this perfectly to the respective pose so that it can always look perfect. The arms have also a swivel at the connection of the die-cast shoulder joint, but no biceps swivel directly. The figure has double jointed elbows, which are also made of die-cast. The additional replaceable hands all have a hole at the base to swap them on the arm assembly molded on ball. Therefore, with all the extra hands, movements in all directions are possible. These wrist bars are as the only ones not very tight, so the hand gets always pulled down by the weight of the heavy shield on this ball, but you could also say that the connection hole on this shield holding hand is just too big. How I said, the wrist bars are only molded on balls without an actual joint. However, the shoulder arm or elbow joints are very tight enough and can keep the set shield poses very well, which of course is much more important. The top of the shield is rotatable on the lower inner smaller part and can do a full 360 without the need to turn the shield holding hand itself on the ball when you need it. And the shield handle is also movable to fit all poses well, and of course to be better able to give him the shield in his hand. The laser lens is also rotatable at the base, and the blade-like looking silver details on the side of the laser lens can both be moved up or respectively can be moved away from the lens. The abdomen and hip joint can be tilted backwards and forwards, and is doubly segmented, rotatable at the top of the chest armor and even tiltable to the sides, and again rotatable at the bottom of the lower crotch armor part. The complete thigh and leg joint system is also made of die-cast. First of all, what is very positive to mention about this is, through that it shifts the center of gravity of the figure for the perfect balance in the lower middle part. The second positive thing on that is that it is very stable due to the die-cast features. As you can see, the thighs on top are on each side connected to a versatile ball hinge joint, which in turn is molded onto a bar, and so it is connected to the understructure of the body. These bars can be turned forwards and backwards on the substructure. These are even ratchet joints which always locking in place. That gives the figure an even more solid stand and above all an awesome strength, because they lock in place and cannot easily adjust by itself by the very high weight of the figure. This fact is just outstanding, and so the whole thing is designed simply great. The ball hinge joints themselves are of course movable to the side, which makes the legs completely spreadable, and they can move forward and backward, in and out. And the thighs have a swivel on the connection to the thigh ball hinge joint, but again there is no directly knee swivel. I really like that even the armor plates along the hip and thigh armoring are extra hinged and therefore foldable away from the thigh armor in order to achieve more room for movements with the legs And so for no pose, those armor blades getting in the way or do not limit any movements with the legs. Simply great, isn't it? He also has a double jointed knees, and those knee joints are also made of die cast. The large detailed knee protectors are extra up and down tilt able, so you can adjust those armor parts a little bit to the leg pose. Also pretty awesome, I think. The foot or ankle joints are also made of die cast. The feet are rotate able, have side tiltage, are in any direction move able, and the front foot piece can be even more tilted up and down as the rear foot piece, because the front foot is even again extra attached to the foot joint system, so that you can adapt the feet to any imaginable pose or adapt it perfectly to the ground. The feet themselves are also complete made of die cast, which shifts the center of gravity of the figure even further down again, which allows the figure a solid stand wherever he uses his energy lens and his huge heavy shield or not. That's so great. Since the fight joint system and feet, as mentioned before, are made of die cast, it shifts the center of gravity more down, and therefore the figure is very good and perfectly balanced. This quality is just great for a solid stability in every imaginable pose. And so it has been better solved and implemented than on most of the official Bandai Tamashii arts figures, where the mostly top center of gravity is a real problem for stability and for balance, because they are too light in the lower body area or in the legs and the feet too. And so many cool certain poses with their respective heavy weaponry, or by the feature of having heavy wings, are only possible with the support of the Tamashii stands, because they are too top heavy. And I'm just talking about poses with a more straight upward standing pose actual. Good examples of these so-called top-heavy Digimon figures are Bandai Tamashii's SH Figure Arts Imperial Dramon and his repaint Imperial Dramon Paladin mode, and the D-Arts Dukemon, and of course his repaint SH Figure Arts Chaos Dukemon as well. By the Imperial Dramons additional contribute to this the somewhat too short, small seeming feet, as these figures have very large heavy wings, and so making the two figures very top heavy. Fun fact, the old Digi-Warrior, or respectively the Diri Imperial Dramon figure, has much larger, more solid feet. Tough, he is much smaller and stockier in his basic body shape than these two newer, perfectly proportioned Tamashii Imperial Dramon figures. And most of the figure arts figures from the Dragon Ball Z universe unfortunately have this top heavy problem too. I especially think of spontaneously on their very first Dragon Ball Z figure arts figure, Super Saiyan Son Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Teen Son Gohan, especially with the cape on, the first Piccolo, the first Super Saiyan Vegeta with Scouter and Saiyan armor, and the first Super Saiyan Future Trunks. Yes, and should it not work with our Dukemon X here one time, you still have the huge stand base, which is similar in structure to the Tamashii stand bases and is designed for extra fancy, cool and floating poses. However, this does not really work with the floating poses, as the figure with the many metal is too heavy and the joints of the movable stand rod are just too weak and too loose, and the movable rod completely getting pulled to the ground due to the high weight of the figure, even if you tighten the screws of each joint once again. Yes, I've tried. Since they kinda have cheated us in the official product images, I think, with this a little bit. But yeah. So the stand base only serves to support to balance more upright standing combat poses, but it is tight enough for that. In order to use the stand base with the figure, you have to detach his cape, as you have seen. Then you have this grey part on the back of his armor, which you have to remove to expose the hole for the connection with the stand base, and then insert the thick pack of the rod there. Removing the grey part of the armor is a bit fiddly, or it gets a bit heavier because you cannot handle it well, because you have just not much room to operate there. But the rest goes very smoothly and the pack goes very well into the hole, so a certain strength is guaranteed and not immediately slip out again through posing, which is very positive. After you attach the cape back on in the exactly same way as without a stand. This is also easier with Tungmung's figure, and in contrast to Bandai Tamashii Figure Arts Omegamon Bokura no Wargame version figure, where they solved and designed it a way much more complicated. Even the cape itself is moveable, so you can adjust its pose to the combat pose. It does not necessarily have joints, but the cape is, as you might have noticed, made of real red fabric and not plastic. The cape consists of two sewn together fabric parts, and there are sewn in thin wires on each side of the cape, which allows you to pose the cape quite well, and as mentioned, so you can adapt the cape pose to the respective fighting pose individually and perfectly. This is as simple as ingenious and got absolutely brilliantly solved and conceived, I think. And even the thin wires can easily maintain the set cape poses without being slightly displaced or pulled down by the weight of the cape itself. No, it stays, and that's just great. Therefore, this whole construction is much more simpler and actually much cleverer, but above all, it got much more effective constructed and designed by Tungmung than in contrary on Bandai Tamashii Figure Arts Omegamon Bokura no Wargame version figure with the cloth cape, where it is truly a pain in the ass to get everything in shape and get it posed well with those 3 different sized bars, and in general they solved it very much complicated and with a lot of effort. As I said, this is much better and less complicated here with Tungmung's cape pose system, because it works great without any additional bars and parts and only with the sewn in wires in the cape. In addition, already the general implementation of the Tungmung capes is actually better than the cloth cape on Bandai Tamashii Figure Arts Omegamon Bokura no Wargame version figure, because it was made of only a very thin fabric piece which is very transparent, and you see the colors of the other side shimmering through, which is not so nice because it doesn't really work this way, because the cape should only be red inside and outside only white. The white from the outside as well as the inner red looks more like pink on both sides, especially the white from outside because of the shimmering through effect on both sides, and that makes it not really looking good and accurate at all. Let's take a closer look at the red and white cape of Tungmung's Omegamon X. I do not personally own it now, but no matter. Here, the other color on the respective sides does not shimmering through those of the other respective side, because here are 2 fabric pieces sewn together, where one layer is red fabric for the inside and the other for the outside of the cape is white fabric layer as well, and so it making it look like it should be. And that's what is on the simply implemented cape design of Omegamon X many more times better solved and designed than again in or by the cape implementation of Tamashi's figure Omegamon Bukurano Wargame version with the cloth cape, because it so easily serves its purpose and is actually white from the outside, actually red on the inside, and in short words it looks like it should. Only that Dukemon X cape is and should be accurate, consists of two red sewn together fabric layers, of course, since his cape is red on both sides. But that's now enough about the topic articulation. But in general, it's really impressive how well such problems solved and reversed a third-party company better than Bandai did, isn't it? And you might also could think that Dukemon X as well as Omegamon X is a product by Bandai Tamashi and not produced by a third-party company. The typical translucent blue details all around his armor or respectively his body are, as you can read on the original character design, bright shining energy crystals which got formed through the power of the so-called X-Antibody and have been molded of translucent light blue plastic, which reveals a high quality conclusion and let these details really appear as such energy crystals as it should be. And on Dukemon X there are even more of those energy crystals not as able, and he has more of those larger energy crystals that stand out more on him than on Omegamon X because of the different looking original character designs. Excuse me please. These translucent light blue energy crystals, which are located on the armor parts of the body and the two on the laser lens base itself, are almost molded from the same translucent plastic. The laser lens itself is for some reason molded out of a more flat and not so fine clear translucent light blue plastic. There are only two of these energy crystals that would have to be made of such translucent plastic too. That they have colored in quotes only, instead with light blue to turquoise metallic paint, and by that I mean the smaller energy crystals on his helmet decoration and the something bigger above on his lower crotch armor. These differ in color a bit from the color of the other transparent plastic energy crystals, but I do not find that bad. Also the red color of his shoulder armor laser lens base on the knee protectors and on the beautifully molded Digimon X crown is also a very nice metallic dark red. The head or helmet anyway has a lot of different beautiful paint apps, and also the eyes have been very well detailed, painted and accurately implemented. The white of his main armor is, as you can see, also a beautiful looking metallic white, quite similar to Omegamon X white. The richness of paint apps is also evident on many armor pieces. As you can see, he has printed on Digimon symbols all over his armor parts, similar to Omegamon X. All in all, a successful finish with countless paint apps, just as you would wish and as it should be. The only thing you could complain about is that the paint layer is very thin and it somehow feels like the paint flaking off if you take the figure too much in the hands. Probably it is also similar on Omegamon X. Another point to that is that the interchangeable additional pairs of hands, as you can see, unfortunately have not been painted at all and have all just been left dark grey. Otherwise, even tough, they have nicely molded details. If you have those attached, it just spoils the whole look a bit more, sadly, of the otherwise perfect, pretty cool looking figure. That's a bit a pity. However, most of us will display Dukemon X with his impressive weapons anyway, than with those quite ugly unpainted looking extra hand pairs, as they also are not suitable for that reason. And so it is not this bad, because you do not need a hand for the laser lens anyway, and the huge shield anyway covers the shield holding hand. But if you really need it, the swapping of hands is very easy and they are all very tight. You just would have to paint them yourself so that they fit to the rest of the perfect finish. As you can see, the energy crystals on his shield are molded out of a darker translucent blue plastic than those crystals on his body and the laser lens. Whatever, if that's good or bad, it's arguable, because I tend to think that all of these energy crystals by the original character design of Dukemon X-Antibody all have the same light blue glowing energy color effect. So maybe the translucent energy crystals on his shield should also be molded from the same translucent light blue plastic, at least the outer elongated free ones. The round energy crystal in the middle even affects by the original character design a darker shining than the others. However, I personally do not find the different color tones of the translucent plastic of the energy crystals this bad, and it gives it yet another color accent, which I personally feel much more positive than negative. And also the way they worked out and implemented the energy crystals on his shield is just so great to look at. Also the shield is wonderfully detailed, colored, and the golden metallic color is even the same as on the other armor parts on his body, and the details on the shield itself are also very well and detailed, molded. Of course, this also applies to the laser lens details. To attach the laser lens, you have to pull off the lower part of the left arm, as you have seen. Then you put on the laser lens on the shortened arm for the accurate design. I would call that piece arm adapter part, and to do this is also very simple, smoothly and better solved than the weapon and shield parts web system of Tamashi's D-Arts Dukemon, or respectively on his repaint figure. There, it's really a pain in the ass again to swap the parts, because the swap system is there unbelievably awkward, complicated and difficult designed and implemented. And you should also be careful when you are detaching the parts on those figures to not stretch the elbow joint too far or even destroy or tear the joint apart, because you have to pull right strongly there to get something detached there at all. But the elbow joint is actually not strong enough to withstand such forces. So some damage sooner or later can hardly be avoided, sadly. And those of you who own this D-Arts Dukemon or his repaint version SH Figure Arts Chaos Dukemon and already done this web, knowing for sure exactly what I'm talking about here. On Tungmung's Dukemon X, simply insert the left fist with the hole, or respectively the shield holding hand, onto the arm base on the molded on ball, unfold the shield holding handle and insert it into the hole with a slight squeeze in the shield holding hand, and you are done! simple and uncomplicated, and without must having any feelings of fear to destroy something. Since it isn't the fault of the additional hands itself for their non-painting, I mention and show in detail for the sake of fairness anyway what kind of additional hand pairs you get with the package. As you can see, we have a pair of hands with clenched fists. The same clenched fist hand pair again with holes for the shield handle, which is the only one you need. The other fist with a hole is just there to be also able to give the shield in the right hand of Dukemon X, but he holds his shield originally only in his left hand. So why should you display it differently, and therefore the right fist with the hole is actually needless. Theoretically, it is also just possible with him to attach the laser lens to his left arm. If you detach the above mentioned arm adapter part, because that is of course also possible with the left arm adapter part. So you can attach the right arm adapter part on his right arm, the right fist with the hole on it, and then you'll be able to give him his shield in the right hand, and the laser lens would be then in turn on his left hand arm. In short, with this additional right shield holding hand, with the hole, you'll be able to display Dukemon X holding his laser lens on his left arm and the shield on his right arm. It's just an option, but again, why should you display your Dukemon X the wrong way? And then of course you still have this open hand pair. So we have a total of 3 pairs of hands. Also the weapon or hand swap goes very smooth and is through this once again easier to do than on many of such Tamashii figures, and brings TungmungEX another plus. A special gimmick is that Dukemon X as Omegamon X coming with a light up function. If it's the Garuru cannon by Omegamon X, it is on Dukemon X, as you have seen, of course, his laser lens that has an integrated LED. I guess it's a white LED here, but a blue plastic LEDs lighting up the laser lens blue. By Omegamon it is directly a blue LED, I think, anyway. And this light up function really absolutely is first class and so awesome, which also never had a Bandai Tamashii Digimon figure ever before. And in addition, the light is very bright and is even very noticeable in daylight. The battery compartment for the bottom cells was very well hidden, and the lid of it is in general integrated absolutely well in the figure's design without an additional disturbing part on Dukemon X must sticking out. Even the tiny black switch to turn on the light function, which is placed under the outer blade-like looking detail on the base of his laser lens, has been designed very discreet in size and got well hidden. Just as good as by Omegamon X, and also for Dukemon X you need 2 bottom cells of the type AG3 or LR41. These 2 mentioned blade-like details on the base of the laser lens can be also moved, as mentioned before, pretty far to the side, which is very helpful with the right detail to have some more room to operate the switch and to turn on the lighting up function. As you have seen, he even comes with a translucent blue shield holding support clip for an even better holding ability to stem and hold his shield. but he can do it by himself anyway, so the support clip is not really that much needed. However, it should probably help to relieve the joints a bit, or it is intended for a more solid better hold ability of the shield. I guess so. There's only one aspect I have to complain about the figure, and this made the demonstration of assembly a bit more difficult, and that is the following. Some of his body or armor parts did not even fit on the provided joint slots and pegs, since the molding of the connection holes were too unclean or too small. So some rework on these parts on the connection holes with a thin file and several tries were necessary until the parts were fitting right on each other. On my Dukemon X, these were the holes on both shoulder armor parts that did not fit on the shoulder hinged ball joints without cutting out more of the holes. This also applies to the connection hole at the bottom of the head, which was also too small. I'm almost got desperate during the demonstration of the assembly because these parts did not fit at all, and even after several tries it did not work to get them attached until I took a closer look at the holes and found this mistake, which I simply did not expect it. No idea if it's just on my copy or a widespread problem on all the figures, but well, it's just a third-party figure and probably you should kinda expect such things, and honestly I can truly forgive Tungmung about that, because apart from these little issues, the figure of Dukemon X is just so awesomely perfect. You can't say this often enough because it is simply true. If you get a figure, I give you advice. Take only very thin files and do it step by step with constant testing if it is already sufficient and already fitting, so that the holes are not getting too wide, to still ensure a reasonably firm grip and that it is not too loose or even no longer stays on and falls off again. This can quite and logically happen if you file too much out of the holes. So once again, do it step by step, carefully and with care. Even his helmet decoration is inherently very loose on my Dukemon X and falls off very often while posing. But you could fix that simply by gluing it on if it bothers you too much. But this probably seems to be a common problem with this Dukemon X figure, since the other one who reviewed his Duke-X had the same problem with this piece on his figure. In addition, you should be a bit careful when dealing with the figure, since the parts are all molded more out of hard plastic and you could easily break something by too much careless and improper handling. As this figure can also be seen more as a collector's figure. As you can see, the figure also comes with an extra head for Dukemon X. No idea why, maybe it's meant to just be able to display Dukemon X with Dukemon X head instead of his real head, but let's face it folks, who in the world would do that and display this super great Dukemon X with Dukemon X head? I think nobody would do that. But this extra head is in the other ways very positive, and I would see it as a replacement head if you damage something on the original head the Dukemon X comes with, or the company may somehow forgot to pack it. Because this additional Dukemon X head is molded just good as well in detail, and above all it is just as well painted as the original head, so it can, as I said, act as a spare part perfectly. The TungmungEX-02 Duke-X, aka Dukemon X-Antibody figure is a truly real and majestic eye-catcher and an absolutely masterpiece, piece of art and a dream come true of a never seen before figure of the Dukemon X-Antibody character, exactly like the Omega X. And if you like the design of the X-Antibody characters, this figure is a real must-have for every fan. For this reason, Tungmung's Digimon figures should also not missing in any collection, and so I can only recommend Dukemon X-Antibody and the others to you. Because I think if you pre-ordered them before, they sold off great figures for a good reasonable price. They have still high prices, but that's still understandable, I think. And if you consider the aspect of the high quality level and what you get offered, paint apps, size, articulation, stability through nice tight joints and a die cast for perfect balance and even a lighting up feature as well, it's fair to say that those are all reasonable prices and that they are fully okay for such a magnificent overall package, especially in case you pre-ordered them before. Even tough, you will hardly find the normal white version of Omega X anymore, and then only at astronomically high prices. At the time I made this video, I had still seen his black repaint version TungmungEX-01 Omega X or Omegamon Sword X-Antibody to quite reasonable prices. However, I'm still hoping that maybe someday the normal Omega X version will pop up again for a nearly good and reasonable price. And the best of it all was that Tungmung had already announced and planned more characters, so you could have looked forward to more great artworks from them if Bandai had not managed the shutdown of TungmungEX third-party company. Through this shutdown, it is clear that they were able to release only 4 figures through the shutdown, and those were, like I said, TungmungEX-01 Omega X, TungmungEX-02 Duke-X, TungmungEX-01B Omega X, the black version, TungmungEX-04 Alphamon X. The 4th one, Alphamon X, probably only in limited numbers. I know that through my pre-order of this figure at an eBay shop, the seller told me that he has probably received the first part of his Tungmung Alphamon X figure's delivery, and I still had hope to get it too. Shortly before, my eBay seller also informed me that TungmungEX was shut down by Bandai. However, shortly afterwards he had already refunded me my money for the pre-order. Of course, that was very positive on one hand, but on the other hand, that meant that he unfortunately could not fulfill my pre-order with the number of figures of Alphamon X he had received, and my hope to be able to preserve Alphamon X unfortunately died with that immediately. Also for Wargreymon X I received a refund of the purchased price. That must be something going on with the company was due to the permanently delayed planned release dates of their other planned figures and their already shown earlier completely grey prototype figures of both was just somehow logical. It took a lot of months and nothing happened. By the way, those were the 2 Wargreymon X and Alphamon X, and Wargreymon X was supposed to become number 3 and was planned to be released in November 2018, and Alphamon X should become number 4. I thought Tungmung would have some difficulties in the production process and things like that, etc. I had the 2 in my eBay watch list only because it was only the official product images of the 2 as grey prototypes to see everywhere, and I wanted to wait with the pre-order until finally there are official product images of the 2 with their final paint job. Until then, some time passed before my seller finally had official product pictures where you could see the final colored figures. However, surprisingly enough, those of Alphamon X at first, Tungmung had now probably preferred as the third for some reason. They also had changed Alphamon X now as their third figure in their marking, and so Wargreymon now got marked as the fourth. Exactly this delay of Wargreymon X and the preference of the Alphamon X figure reinforced my suspicion that they actually had production issues with the Wargreymon X. And I thought, yes, finally a sign of life from TungmungEX. As soon as I saw Alphamon X in full color, I also put my pre-order for him. And a short time later there were also the official product images of the painted Wargreymon X figure, which I then also pre-ordered. And of course, without knowing that at that time, Bandai had to shut down Tungmung. I just thought that the delay of Wargreymon X and they preferred Alphamon X first now as the third was only because of having difficulties in producing Wargreymon X, and for some reason it was easier for them to produce Alphamon X first. However, in retrospect there were probably already hot trials going on between Bandai and TungmungEX. I suspect that perhaps Tungmung had managed first to negotiate that they could still release at least Alphamon X and Wargreymon X. That could explain the official pictures after so long time with the colored figures of the 2, and at least the partial release of Alphamon X. Because I just strongly assume that there must have been trials already in the meantime, from the pictures of the grey prototypes until the pictures of the painted figures. But I probably came to the decision to forbid Tungmung the completely full release of Alphamon X in the end, and so also Wargreymon X release complete then. As I said, this is only a personal guess and suspicion, but there could be also something true in it. By the way, Tungmung had released even some more figures, but they were more in the chibi style, like Bandai Tamashi's original NX style figures of the Royal Knights. These were Chessmon, Dukemon Crimson Mode and Susanomon. I do not know exactly if the last two have even been released because I did not really care about the chibi style figures, but I think Susanomon was just a grey prototype on eBay up for pre-order. Maybe that was another reason for Bandai to shut down TungmungEX, because they've been kinda copying Bandai's NX style with these smaller chibi style figures. One another reason for Bandai to shut down the third party company might also be the following. Had our first figures at least partly fantasy names like OmegaX and Duke-X, they used for Alphamon X and Wargreymon X actually the original full names, so they've actually called the two next figures Alphamon X and Wargreymon X. For Wargreymon X, however, with an A instead of E, but well, Bandai may have had a hard time with this because they took the original licensed Bandai names this time, instead of fantasy names like Alpha X and so on. According to internet information, Alphamon X should be released in June or July 2019, which is also true because of the partly received delivery of Alphamon X, according to my eBay seller. And Wargreymon X should also be released in June 2019. maybe Alphamon X in June and Volcramon X in July 2019. Even of the big figures, they had planned more, which also were all up for pre-order on eBay already, but these were only pictures of barely recognizable kinda outlines of the later figures as CG images. That was again a normal version of Omegamon and again a Dukemon Crimson mode figure, which unfortunately are all history and sadly have to remain a dream. And so we would be at the end of my judgment about the TungmungEX-02 Duke-X, aka Dukemon X-Antibody figure, and all additional informations about the set shutdown of TungmungEX. As always, I want to thank you for your attention, saying goodbye, and until the next figure review video, which of course I would dedicate to my second figure release of TungmungEX, and this would be the repaint version of the normal white Omega X, which TungmungEX named as TungmungEX-01B Omega X, aka Omegamon Sword X-Antibody. But of course only in the case I also have got this figure in my hands until that, because it seems already now again that there will be again issues between me and my eBay seller once again. So I can't promise anything about that. I'm sorry, that's so exhausting also for me. And as always, if you liked the video, I would be happy to get a thumbs up, and even more about if you subscribing to my channel. So see you in next video, get in people, and see you next time, your Mega 88 1000.
世界見つめる神がいる